Alrighty, welcome back to my channel, Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about my 2021 goals. Now, I know everyone and their mother puts this video out every year before the new year, but it's one of my favorites because I am a planner at heart. I really like to sit down, think through things, and see what I would like to pursue in the new year. So I have some concrete goals, like things that I definitely want to accomplish with rules and regulations, but there are some other kind of softer, just generally, I would like to accomplish this goals that I have, and I'm just going to run through both of those, and then we'll see at the end of the year if I keep to them. The first one is that I would like to read all of my physical books that I have with me in Japan right now. So I do have a larger collection of physical books that are in the States. Some of them are books I've already read and I have special editions of. Others are ones I have yet to read, but I don't have them physically with me. And because of that, in the future when, travel is open again, I'm going to be sending books to and fro, putting things in suitcases, and it's going to be heavy. Books are heavy. So I would like to read through all of my physical TBR that I have here in Japan with me to make sure that all of these books are ones that I would like to have in my collection for the future. And if that's the case, then I can slowly implement, sending them overseas. But I definitely want to make sure I'm caught up on that physical aspect. Thankfully, I'm quite smart with my spending, so I don't have a huge, task ahead of me in order to accomplish that. But that is definitely a goal that I want to accomplish this year. And to help me with that, I've actually shifted my Retro Reads challenge to a new challenge. So if you weren't aware, when I first started my booktube channel over 2 years ago now, which is crazy to think about, I had this Retro Reads challenge where I pulled a retro read that was over 5 years old, that was kind of like a booktube baby, and I read it to see what my opinions were on those things. And while I did find a few books that I really did enjoy, and more that I didn't actually through that challenge, I feel like at the point in my life that I am right now, that's not necessarily where I am mentally. I think I'm going to go into a lot of these kind of younger books with the wrong mindset, and they won't really have a chance to really impress me. So because of that, I'm going to shift the focus of the challenge that I have on my channel to deal with my physical TBR. So in this little jar, I have put papers of all of the books that I physically own right now in Japan, and I will pull 2 of these every month. Now, I may put books from my physical TBR just on my TBR because I want to read them, not because I pulled them out of this jar. So if that's the case, obviously, if I pull it out, we'll discard that one and pick another one. But the goal is by the end of this year to have fully completed the physical TBR that I have with me right now. Now, I will be buying books, I'm sure, but my buying habits usually, not all the time of course, but usually are geared towards books that I have read from the library, or books that I've read, on Scribd, or from different, or some self-published books that I got through my Kindle Unlimited, and then I want to own them physically. So those books, I'm very happy to have as part of my collection. So I think that this is doable. I'm excited for it. I'm ready. You can look forward to the first one in my January TBR. This second goal is one that I decided on about halfway through 2021 when I took part in the Indie Accords Readathon. So I discovered the world of self-published and indie books to a larger extent than I ever had before while taking part of this readathon, and it was a wonderful experience. And I realized that I wanted to put more emphasis on this in the future on my channel, not only because every review counts for self-published and indie authors, but also because I found when I was reading that the breadth and the scope of the types of stories that were available was something that you don't necessarily see in traditional publishing with the typical, review process that I think some books have to go through to be traditionally published. So This is just something that I really wanted to explore and delve into more. And in order to do that, I am doing another challenge on my channel, which is to read all of the SPFBO, or Self-Published Fantasy Book Off, that is always so hard for me to say, finalists from last year, plus some other books from previous years that I'm just interested in. But my challenge this year in 2022 specifically is to read all the top 10 finalists from 2021. So these are 10 books. So obviously there are 12 months in the year. I might be doubling up one month if I find more that interest me, if I'm in the mood for that month. Or I might be doing one every month. I don't know. But there's plenty of, space and time to put these on my TBR. So I definitely plan to be reading all of these, and like I said, plus others that I'm interested in throughout the year. My third goal is actually a continuation from last year, and that is to DNF more. I am a completionist, I'm a perfectionist. I like to read books to the end because I kind of feel like they maybe will surprise me in the last 20%, even if I didn't enjoy the first 80%, But this is almost never the case. If I'm not enjoying the first 80% of a book, I'm not going to enjoy the last 20%. Or even if I do, it's not going to be enough to make it a positive reading experience for me. And even if you flip that percentage, if I really am not enjoying the first 20% of a book, is it worth it to go the last 80%? So it's something that I have done better with this year. I've been a lot more open to DNFing, and it has really changed my reading for the better to make it more positive. So I definitely want to continue doing that this year. I think that there were some books that I should have DNF'd that I didn't, and I just want to make sure that that isn't necessarily the case this coming year. If a book isn't working for me in the moment, I just want to feel the freedom, the ability to just put it down and not pursue it. So that is a continuation from last year, and I think it's something that I can continuously work to get better at. My fourth goal is to make content that brings me joy. So I've talked about on this channel multiple times, have videos, full videos talking about it, the idea of burnout, because I went through a very big one this past year in 2021. It was a burnout for all social media in general, but booktube as well. And one of the things that I discovered when I was kind of musing about this, thinking about it, is that I was trying to make popular content rather than content I wanted to make. Now, if the content I want to make ends up being popular, that's fine, that's wonderful. I love that for me and for everyone else who has that experience. But there are some things on my channel that just bring me joy to create and to make, and I want to put emphasis on creating those things this year. So I mentioned this in previous videos, but my booktube bartender series, which I adore making, and my Japanese mythology and folklore series, those don't do so well, but they make me so happy when I create them. So I want to make sure that I don't lose sight of that this year, and that I am creating the content that brings me joy, that makes me happy. And even if that doesn't lead to exponential growth of the channel, which would always be nice and welcome, I think that I'll be right with myself, It'll be right in here. So I want to make sure that I keep that in mind in this next year when I'm deciding what to spend my free time creating. And I also want to make sure that I'm engaging with other people's unique content. So that's something else that I definitely want to do, is be searching out actively and looking for content that is kind of a different way to look at things, or if it's like self-pub review, or, I want to make sure that I spend my time seeking those things out instead of just letting the algorithm feed me what it thinks I'm going to like. These next three goals are all about the books that I want to be engaging with and making sure that I read this coming year. And the first one is that I would like to focus on classics. Now, I took a lot of classic literature classes when I was in university, especially focusing on the Victorian period, but there are authors that I haven't read that I really want to. And amazingly enough, Yolene from Yolene Reads also kind of had this goal for her next year. I'll be sure to link her up above and down below. Please go check out her channel if you haven't. Her and I have really, really similar reading tastes, especially in the fantasy genre. So we decided to make like a very very loose list of classics we would like to read this year. So I'm going to be reading a classic every month. Sometimes I'll be budding and reading it with Yoli, and sometimes I won't. But we've decided on the first two for this year, and the first one's going to be The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is one I've wanted to read for years and years and years, and I do have access to, and I just can't wait to finally pick this up and read it. And then in February, we will be reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now this is one I'm very excited for, specifically this author, because while I have read quite widely in the genre of Victorian literature, I haven't read any Jane Austen, which is mind-blowing. I don't know how that happened. So I'm very excited to pick up Pride and Prejudice. We will be picking up some other Jane Austens throughout the year. They'll be included in all of my TBRs, and maybe someone else would like to join us. If you're interested, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below if you kind of want to join this as like a read-along. I think that would be pretty fun, because one of the joys of classics is being able to discuss them with other people. So let me know. My sixth goal is actually still more of a continuation from last year, which is to read more sci-fi. So I did actually start picking up more sci-fi this year. I haven't read a ton, but what I did read, I enjoyed almost all of them. The Children of Time behind me is like one of my favorite books of the year, and that's one of the only sci-fis I read. So I think this bodes really well for the genre in general and my tastes. I'm very excited to be pursuing more of this genre this year, though I don't have a strict goal like one a month or anything like that. It's just a general idea that I have that I want to pursue and keep in mind when I'm picking my TBRs for each month. And along those same lines is my seventh and last goal, which is to kind of hit my horror stride. So I got into thrillers several years ago, and I do still enjoy them, especially via audiobook, but I kind of like slowly made the natural progression into horror, but I haven't found exactly what I like in horror yet. I haven't had a 5-star horror read besides Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which is behind me on my bookshelf. That was 5 stars, but since that, and I have read quite a few horror books since then, I haven't found one that really works for me. So I want to experiment, look into different types of horror, different genres of horror, and find my stride in that overarching genre. Once again, this is more of a general goal where I want to explore throughout the year just what may work for me in this genre and pick books up here and there to see if I can really figure out what my tastes are. And to wrap all of this up, my Goodreads goal is to read 100 books this year. 2 years ago, I put it at 80 books, and I surpassed that to about 84 or 85. This past year for 2021, I had at 90, and again, I surpassed it, and I still have a couple days to read, but I think it's going to be around 94, 95. And so I want to increase it by 10 again this year to read 100 books. And I really, really, truly feel like I can do that. So I'm very excited for that. I know some people don't like specific numbered goals, and I appreciate and respect that, but for me, the way that I work and the way that I function, having that kind of clear-cut goal works really well, and I'm excited to have that to like strive towards. Let me know in the comments down below what your goals are, if you share some of these, if you're interested in reading some of the classics that we're going to be reading every month. Yeah, I'd love to chat down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. I'd love to have you as part of this community, and I appreciate it. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Jane!